Subscribe to my channel for more inspiring stories like this one. The glittering crystal goblets caught the light like tiny rainbows when my sibling revealed her intention. We're relocating to your lakeside retreat starting next week. They uttered it so offhandedly, as though I weren't present at the table. Father sliced into the roast. Mother beamed at the grandchildren. I remained immobile under the hanging lights, attuned only to the echo of my inner retreat. That retreat by the water wasn't vacant. It sheltered the sole aspect of myself they could never shatter. Yet to them, it was merely unoccupied territory ready for takeover. I refrained from protesting. Instead, I dipped into my purse and set a beige envelope amid the sparkling glass and the slicing tool. Remodeling commences on Monday, I stated. For the first time, quietude wasn't yielding. It was intentional strategy. I'm Gabrielle Morgan, and on that evening, I ceased serving as their easy option. Have you ever felt pressured by shame to offer beyond your limits? Share in the comments below. I'll check them out. I once believed part 2. The years of giving that goodness required silence. That simplifying life for others would earn their affection in return. In childhood, I quickly grasped that equity was applied unevenly. Vanessa received the fresh bicycle. I received a lecture on appreciation. When the education savings vanished to fund her marriage, Father remarked, "Relatives make sacrifices for one another." His true implication was, I forfeited so they could gain. Even following my marital split, when I acquired the lakeside property using the divorce payout, Mother dubbed it our household's alternate residence. They all adopted that label, treating the ownership document as if my surname appeared there solely for show. The manipulation through remorse was perpetual, understated, turned into a tool. Your sibling is enduring hardships, Gabrielle. You're tougher. She requires support. That's their method of masking the taking, as affection bundled with duty. I convinced myself it didn't bother me. I had my career, my autonomy. Yet each assistance turned into a restraint. Every meal a bargaining session. Every instance of aid another stone in the enclosure I constructed alone. Nevertheless, I continued appearing. Celebrations, achievements, the forced chuckles, feigning that I wasn't fading bit by bit to maintain their ease. At times, I glimpsed my image in their utensils, a hazy outline of an individual striving excessively to fit in, the sort of child they could exploit but never fully embrace. On that occasion at the meal when they asserted claim over my lakeside home, it transcended a mere ask. It signaled that my limits were dismissible, that my quiet implied agreement. But they misinterpreted my character, for I was no longer the child who'd clash over the table. I had evolved into the adult who'd sketched the escape route in advance. They assumed shame would confine me, yet shame had erected the very structure that would liberate me. Part 3, Quiet Plans and New Locks following that meal. Quietude emerged as my keenest instrument. No raised voices, no clashes, merely scheming. I mentally reviewed their statements, each word inscribed like schematics for my subsequent action. They expected me to simmer in self-reproach. Rather, I examined points of influence. On Monday dawn, I contacted my builder, Miguel. He was indebted from a prior architectural endeavor. Complete overhaul, I instructed. To the framework, at least 9 months. He paused. Your relatives approve? That's precisely the intent. By midday, agreements were prepared. Authorization submitted to authorities. Schedules authenticated and endorsed. Each endorsement formed shielding. Every official mark, a limit impervious to emotional leverage. Next, I phoned my attorney. I sought total security. Title, entry mechanisms, coverage, legal representation. She inquired if this concerned safeguarding. I explained it was for precision. She refrained from probing, simply acknowledged, entered data, and passed documents over. The gentle click of her writing implement resonated more intensely than a storm. Upon departing her workspace, the waning daylight illuminated the files I carried like precious metal, evidence of safeguarding oneself, inscribed indelibly. That evening, I packed away picture collections, all remnants of their dominance, group outings, accomplishments, anniversaries where I grinned, as if inclusion demanded no toll. I retained a single image. Myself solitary near the retreat's pane. A subtle grin under motes in the beam. Evidence that tranquility had resided there eternally, awaiting my assertion. Miguel messaged subsequently. Security mechanisms fitted. Surveillance active. Setup verified. His message brought relief like fresh air. I released accumulated strain I hadn't realized I bore. For the initial occasion, I rested fully without verifying entrances, without practicing regrets. The ensuing period established a pattern of readiness. Mornings blended brew with fresh bills. Evenings brought serene contentment as matters aligned. I shared nothing with colleagues, avoided social updates, withheld alerts from kin, allowing them to view me as unchanged, the compliant child, the yielding sibling who'd ultimately relent. At times, quietude isn't capitulation. It's tactical respiration. By week's close, the lakeside haven shifted from refuge to bastion. Detection devices, updated mechanisms, surveillance aimed at the extended stone path, anticipating the eventual arrival of transport. And as I gazed from my dwelling's overlook, observing dawn pierce the mist over Portland, I at last comprehended dominance. Not boisterous, not harsh, simply composed and unchangeable. The subsequent approach for my possessions would encounter beyond sealed portals. They'd encounter an individual who'd integrated liberty into the base. Monday dawned with Part 4. The demolition day, the distant rumble of machinery out of place. From my cooking area view, I spotted it. A relocation vehicle inching along the tight stone lane to my retreat. The deep red emblem shone like an alert. Father's communications commenced at first light. 7 overlooked. All disregarded. Upon arriving behind the builder's vehicle, Ray and his group were set. Caution markers, supports, protective gear. The methodical setup of workers recognizing limits. Miss Morgan, Ray noted, holding his ledger. They insist on entry rights for settling. They lack them. I responded, presenting the endorsed authorizations. Advance per plan. The vehicle lingered at the edge. Vanessa emerged initially. Fashion shades, impeccable style, turmoil trailing. What's occurring here? She gestured at the machinery. These workers block our unloaders. The site remains uninhabitable amid upgrades. I displayed the dossier. Authorizations, checks, formal alerts, all registered. Vanessa chuckled, piercing and fragile. This is absurd. We've vacated our prior space. Seek alternatives. Her tone escalated. Where shall we reside? I retrieved from my carryall a sealed packet, a funded half-year containment facility preset. At your service. Containment failed her desires. She craved dominance. You lack the authority. We're kin. Kin honors limits. She pivoted, striding to the entrance. I retained access. I permitted her advance. The automated announcement from the updated mechanism intervened. Unpermitted access noted. Alert dispatched. Her expression paled. You altered the mechanisms recently. I confirmed, plus surveillance, warnings, and title registrations. The unloaders halted abruptly. Mark whispered about neutrality. Even the young ones in the vehicle hushed. Vanessa's tone fractured. You're unfeeling. No, I stated steadily. Merely done with utility. My device sounded, the protection firm verifying the signal. I responded composedly, audible to her. Affirmative, erroneous trigger. Kin verifying setup. Upon concluding, Vanessa's anger shifted to incredulity. You'll rue this. I held her gaze. I already did across 38 years. The vehicle motor revived. Items stacked on the grass like symbols of hubris. As it departed, Ray addressed me. Shall we tidy the grounds? Affirmative. All beyond containment evacuate. Daylight pierced the overcast, reflecting off the fresh surveillance like small reflectors. For the first instance, my grounds mirrored my interstate, impervious. And that marked the true overhaul. By Tuesday, the Part 5, the reckoning and the truth online repercussions commenced. 12 unheeded summonses. 7 recordings from intimidation to sobs. Father's initial note. You've shamed our circle. Mother's follow-up. You've wounded your sire's spirit. Vanessa's dispatch ensued. We're exposing this. I nearly chuckled. They'd overlooked my profession in crafting public personas. That evening, I positioned by the retreat's overlook. The identical panorama that once soothed post-dissolution. Now it mirrored conflict waged in murmurs and correspondence. In under 2 days, the rumors ignited. A local voicing worry over my psyche. A relative sharing ambiguous online remarks. Certain individuals overlook kin priority. Vanessa featured in a broadcast. Feigned sorrow shining under ideal illumination. She barred us. She informed her audience. We're nearly destitute. The segment garnered 30,000 observations swiftly. Yet truth circulated equally. Ray, meticulously organized, had recorded all. Authorizations, alerts, chronologies, and recordings of the vehicle's intrusion. My counsel transferred the protection visuals to a communal repository. Dispatched the access to regional media as Vanessa's account gained traction. By dawn, the account reversed. Proprietor safeguards estate from presumptuous kin. Response areas became forums of outsiders upholding my reputation. For the initial time, the quietude that formerly shielded them now shielded me. Vanessa's backers withdrew. Her promotion agreements vanished rapidly. Father attempted contact anew. Tone gentler, nearly scripted. Resolve this discreetly. I ignored. Rather, I relayed all communications to counsel. By midweek close, a packet arrived via messenger, a halt order from parental representation. It charged me with slander via exclusion. I grinned. They'd founded their realm on chosen facts. Now exclusion served as my prime asset. I released no declaration, no media bulletin, merely understated evidence, pacts, vouchers, chronologies, all facts disseminated via formal avenues. No sentiment, no retaliation, simply documentation. By week's end, the clamor subsided. Even sensational outlets advanced. Vanessa's online presence dimmed. My parents suspended their leisure club ties for seclusion. Journalists inquired for discussions on limits and legacy disputes. I refused each. Allow conjecture on the conclusion. Allow serenity claim the spotlight once. That evening, I lounged on my veranda, goblet of vintage in grasp, observing build lamps dance over the water. The structure remained stripped, naked supports, revealed conduits, yet its sense complete anew. The breeze bore subtle resonances of striking from the upgrade locale. Each impact evoking less destruction and more cadence, the pulse of reconstruction. For years, I confused quietude with frailty. Now I recognize quietude can thunder. They sought to dismantle my serenity. Instead, they validated its necessity. Sunlight Stream Part 6. The rebuild and real peace through incomplete pains, gathering over debris like molten treasure. 3 months past that Sunday feast, and the dwelling shed spectral echoes. Fresh supports arched above, pristine and unyielding. New panels bore no traces of disputes, solely intentions, calibrated purposefully mine. Ray hummed as his workers concluded daily. He halted at the threshold. It's shaping up nicely, Miss Morgan. It is, I affirmed, implying beyond the structure. That dusk, I traversed the water's edge. The surface serene, echoing the heavens. Each wave recalled how serenity grows. Not clamorous, not swift, but assured. Mother reached out once recently. She omitted the dwelling request. She inquired after my well-being. The armistice seemed odd. Yet perhaps certain matters conclude without repair. Vanessa remains mute since the uproar. Her quietude once signified triumph. Now it signifies expanse. And I've come to regard expanse as hallowed. I arranged my initial gathering yesterday eve. No glittering goblets, no fabric serviettes creased like Judy's. Simply mirth, basic fare, and individuals who perceive me. The updated table orients toward the water. When gusts pass through openings, illumination dances over the surface, akin to that eve I departed. But now it lacks pain. It gleams. At times, serenity isn't discovered. It's constructed, fastener by fastener, limit by limit, until enclosures truly evoke belonging. I formerly viewed affection as perpetual ascent. Now I understand occasionally the most compassionate act toward kin is revealing the portal guiding them to self-reflection. And upon their eventual wrap, you'll discern whether to admit or bid farewell beforehand. If this narrative resonated deeply, kindly endorse it and distribute to one requiring this message now. Don't overlook subscribing for additional authentic kin disloyalty tales. That reminds us we are stronger than we.